How can you use patterns to show relationships? Think about this question during the lesson. How does observing a pattern help you determine the solution to a problem? You can follow the pattern to predict what you do not know. Shauna wanted to buy tickets to the concert for her and some friends. What is the total cost of all of the tickets? What operation would you use to solve this problem? Explain. You can use multiplication. You know how much one ticket costs, and you want to find out how much many tickets cost. How much does each ticket cost? Each ticket costs $4. Let T equal the number of tickets purchased. Shauna wanted to make a table to help her find out the cost of different numbers of tickets. Why is it useful to make a table? It organizes the data so that you can look for a pattern. What is the lowest number you should put into the table to find a pattern? Explain. The lowest number you should put into the table is 3, because you may not get a useful pattern with fewer numbers. Why is it better to put 4 numbers in the table for the number of tickets instead of 3? You can better determine a pattern. Finish the table. How much does it cost for 2, 3, 4, and 5 tickets? Shauna saw a pattern in the table. What pattern do you see? For each ticket, the total cost increased by $4. Shauna wrote an algebraic expression to show the relationship between the number of tickets and the total cost. What expression do you think she wrote? The total cost of tickets for any number of friends can be represented by the algebraic expression 4 times T. What does the variable T represent? The variable T represents the number of tickets Shauna buys. Use the algebraic expression 4 times T. How much will it cost for Shauna and 7 friends to go to the concert? It will cost Shauna $32 for her to purchase 8 tickets, 7 for her friends and 1 for herself. Now you can use patterns to show relationships.
Welcome. Today we're going to focus on Unit 5, Lesson 2, which is looking at patterns and expressions. Now, this is really easy. What we're going to basically do is we're going to take the variables that we worked with yesterday, and remember that a variable is just a fancy way of saying it's an unknown number. All right, so it's another way of saying blank. So if we say 3 times blank equals 12, instead of saying blank, we just stick a letter in there. And it, makes it sound a little bit fancier, now that we're in 5th grade. So don't get nervous or confused by variables. They're nothing more than numbers that we don't quite know what they equal. They're unknown numbers. Now, what we're going to do in today's lesson is we're going to take that variable that we're working, and we're going to say, hey, okay, I know what the variable is. Let's plug it in and figure out what the answer is. So we're going to figure out what the answer for different problems is if we know what that variable equals. So let's try some problems. Let's pretend I'm going to use the letter R. Okay, so let's use some expressions, look at some algebraic expressions, And remember, an algebraic expression is simply a math problem with a letter in it. Fancy way of saying a math problem with a letter in it. So let's take a look at a couple expressions if r equals 5. So let's say r equals 5. So I'm going to put a couple problems on the board. They're going to have the variable r in them, and we're going to actually solve them if r equals 5. So let's try one. Let's do 3 plus r equals blank. 3 plus 5 r. So let's figure out what that would equal. Well, in order to solve this, I know now that r equals 5. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to cross off r and put 5. Well, 3 plus 5, that equals 8. Super easy. What if we do 3r? What does that equal? 3r equals what? Again, r equals 5, so I'm going to cross off the r, put 5 in its place. Remember what we have a number and a letter next to each other, we're multiplying. So I'm going to multiply, that equals 15. What if I do 24 divided by r? What does that give me? Oh, let's do 25 divided by r. 25 divided by r, take the r, plug in the 5, that gives me 5. So evaluating patterns and expressions, it's really easy. All you do is take whatever number they give you and plug it in. Let's try another one. What if I have the pattern? That we're talking about, m, and then we're going to say that we have m plus 6. So we're going to solve some patterns if we know that m plus 6. We're going to figure out what it equals. Let's try to figure out what if m equals 2. Then what will m plus 6 equal? So all you do is plug in the 2 for that m. So instead of m, we would say 2. 2 plus 6 equals 8. What if m equals 4? So instead of 2, it would equal 4. Plug in the 4 for m. 4 plus 6 equals 10. How about if m equaled 6? So instead of m, we use 6. 6 plus 6 equals 12. So I noticed that these, for every 2 that my m is increasing, my answer, my sum is increasing by 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So our pattern here is that each of these are going to increase, by 1. If I did that m equals 3, 3 plus 6 would equal 9. So all we're doing is plugging in a value, plugging in a number for m, and then solving. Let's try a couple more. What if, I'm going to use r, what if r equals 2? Let's try a couple problems. So let's do r minus 1. Let's do r divided by, let's do 10 divided by r. Let's do 3r, and let's do 20 minus r. So let's figure out what our answers would be if r equals 2. So all I'm going to do is plug in my answer. So if r equals 2, 2 minus 1 equals 1. For this one, if r equals 2, I plug in that 2, so I plug in that 2, and that would give me 10 divided by 2 equals 5. For this one, if r equals 2, 3 times 2 equals 6. And for this one, again, r equals 2, I'm going to do 20 minus 2 equals 18. So it's super easy. All you're doing is getting rid of that letter and plugging in the number. What if I changed this? I'm going to change my color. What if I changed this? And what if r equals 5? What if r equals 5? So I'll do a red column with 5 being the answer. So what if r equals 5? Plug in the 5, and solve the problem. Instead of it being r, it'll be 5. 5 minus 1 equals 4. If r equals 5, I'll do 10 divided by 5. 10 divided by 5 equals 2. If r equals 5, 3 times 5 equals 15. And if r equals 5, then 20 minus 5 gives me 15. So this lesson is super simple. All they're doing now is they're saying, okay, hey, we know what our letter equals. Now we need to go back and solve the problem. We know what that variable equals, so now plug it in. Instead of it being a variable, now it's going to be an actual number, and just solve the problem. And the best part of these problems for this lesson is that the problems are really simple to work with. So all you're going to do is erase your letter, plug in the number that you know, and solve it like if it was a regular old math problem. Go ahead and try some of your follow-up questions, and I'll see you guys for lessons where we can practice more together. Super easy lesson today, guys. Great job.